What is up, guys? It's Brian from Cross Coast Gaming, and this is another Java game programming tutorial. So last time we made our quad method for our artist class, and this time we're going to talk a little bit about tiles. So to help explain this, I'm going to employ the use of Paint, great program, and let's see. So this is our screen here. Perfect. Okay, that's our screen, except slightly less rectangular. And I went over, so the way tiles are going to work is that a tile is one texture, and we're going to make a tile-based game. I was thinking tower defense, but I'm open to suggestions possibly. But say we're going to make a tower defense. So the map, the actual ground of the map of the game, is going to be tiles. So maybe like 20 tiles by 20 tiles, and each tile is a certain width and height. And so I went over this before in my tic-tac-toe tutorial a while ago, so I'll have an annotation to that on the screen. But the way we're going to fill the screen with tiles is a nested for loop. So a for loop inside of a for loop. And the way that works is it's going to be two arrays, like an array of arrays. And the first array is going to be on the left side of the screen like this, going down. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles up and down, and then each of those is going to contain their own 5 tiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how we're going to populate the screen. It's going to go down from the top, going through each of the arrays of tiles, and then each of those is going to draw from left to right, and we're going to fill the screen with tiles. So we're not actually going to draw the screen with tiles this video. That'll probably be the next one or something, but we're going to make the tile class. So go to data and go to new class, and we're going to call it tile. And let's see, there's some things we need here. We need the x coordinate, the y, let's see if I can do this, the width, and the height. And we also need the texture, which we're not going to put in right now, but eventually we will. So private texture, and then press Control-Shift-O or Command-Shift-O if you're in the Mac, and that'll import the slick texture interface. And now we're going to make the constructor for our tile, so public tile, and we're just going to give it float x, float y, float width, pretty much what we just set up, float height, and texture, and we're going to set everything equal to what we just put in here. So this dot x equals x, this dot y equals y, this dot width equals width. Sorry if I'm going fast here, but you guys get the idea. This is kind of a repetitive process at this point. So we made the constructor from the variables and we set them all equal to what they are. Nothing really special about it, pretty much just the same as our regular quads but with a texture, but we're going to expand upon that and add tile types, and if enemies can go over it and if towers can be built on it and whatnot. But for now this is a good base, so I'm thinking either next video or the video after that we're going to actually draw the entire map to the screen with different tiles and whatnot. But for now this is pretty good. Hey guys, what's up? It's Brian from Cross Coast Gaming with another Java tutorial. It's hard to say no matter how many times I say it. So last time we made our tile class, and this episode might be one of the most difficult ones we're going to do because we're making a big change. We're making the leap from these white boxes here to actual textures. So that is a big change for our program. So it's going to be kind of complicated, but hopefully not too bad. So I made some visual aids that can help us out a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to change our width and height. I decided for our textures, we're going to use 64 by 64. I kind of experimented with, doing 16 by 16 or 32 by 32. But I think 64 by 64 looks pretty good, and we can get a decent amount of tiles on the screen. So I'm going to change our height to 1280. I'm sorry, the width to 1280, and the height to 960. And if we take our calculator here and we do 1280 by 64, we have 20 tiles wide, and 960 should be 15 tiles high. So that's going to be our width and height for now. Hopefully that works for everyone. I doubt anyone's on a display smaller than that, but if so, you can just scale down. And we forgot to, before, in our GL ortho, we need to set these to the width and height variables that we made, because we don't want just random numbers. So we want, if we change the width or height, for everything to update, not to go and manually do it. And while we're inside of the begin session method, we're also going to do, we're going to type in GL enable GL texture 2D. That will enable us to draw textures to the screen. And let's see. I guess the next thing to do is to make the actual draw quad texture method. So we will do a public static void draw quad text, and it's going to take a texture text, and then the rest is the same as the method right above it. So x, y, width, and height. And it's pretty much going to be similar to this one, but with a few slight changes. So the first thing we need to do is do text.bind, and what that says is we're binding our texture that we pass in here as our first argument. We're binding that to OpenGL. So all of the commands that we run as far as drawing to the screen, we'll be modifying this texture until we bind a new texture. So text.bind, and then we're also going to translate GL translate F, put in our X, our Y, and 0. It takes an X, Y, Z, but since our game's two-dimensional, we don't have a Z, so it's 0. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about translate. So I tried to draw in MS Paint, but it didn't work out that well. Like last time, my screen was very non-rectangular. So I made some in Photoshop, spruced it up for you guys. So the way we've been drawing things, if we want to draw a square, so say this whole window here is our screen. We want to draw a square or a quad. We've been using global coordinates. So the way we would do that is the top left corner would be from the very far left of the screen. All of the pixels to the top left is the X. And then from the very top of the screen, all the pixels from the top down to the top left corner is the Y. So for our draw quad, we would always set the top left corner to the X and Y coordinate, right? And then the top right would be that length of X plus the width of the object for X plus width, and then Y down. So I mean, all this stuff should hopefully look pretty self-explanatory since we've already been over it, but I thought this was a nice visual aid regardless. So what translate does, what we're doing right now, is we're using local coordinates. So with local coordinates, it's saying that the X and Y, which we passed in our method over here, X and Y into the translate, is going to be this top left corner of where we're working for this texture of our workspace. So before, with global coordinates, what we were doing previously was 0x and 0y would be up in the very top left corner of the screen. Now when we translate it, we're saying we're going to work just with this area, and the new 0, 0 is where we translate. So our x and y, which would be right here, x, y. So when we bind this texture and when we're drawing a texture to the screen, we're going to do what we did before where we set each vertex for the square, right? But we also need to set each corner of the texture. It's also called a vertex, but it's slightly different because for the texture, this is what we're going to set. We're going to say 0, 0, which is the top left corner, 1, 0, which is the top right corner, 1, 1, bottom right, 0, 1, bottom left. And then in between those, we're going to set the vertexes, which because we're translating is going to be, instead of x plus width, this is just going to be width right here. So I don't know if I'm confusing you guys or not. It was supposed to be simpler, but let's just get to it. So let's go back to Eclipse, and hopefully you will see what I mean here. So the first thing we need to do is start our quads again. So GL begin GL quads. And then we're going to do GL text coord to F. And like I said, the first one's going to be 0, 0, which is the top left corner of our texture. And then we're going to do the vertex at the top left, which is GL vertex 2F 0, 0, because our X and Y has now been translated to 0, 0. So before we were saying X and Y, but since it's translated up here, we can just ignore that. And 0, 0 is now the top left of our texture. So now we're going to do the top right corner. GL text coord 2F 1, 0. It's the top right corner. And for the vertex, GL vertex 2F, it's going to be the width and 0. Because remember, we've gotten rid of the X and the Y, so all that's left here is the width. Bottom right corner is going to be GL text coord 2F 1, 1, GL vertex 2F width height, and then bottom left GL text coord 0, 1, GL vertex 2F 0 height. What did I do here? Oh, 2F. And then after that, to prevent screen tearing, we're going to GL load identity, and you can mess around with that and delete that line and see what happens otherwise. And I think we need to end here, and that should be it. So in the next video, we are going to load the textures from a resource folder that we'll create and use this new method to draw them to the screen. How's it going, guys? It's Brian from Cross Coast Gaming for another Java tutorial. And I'm going to pick this up immediately where we left off last time, right after we finished the draw quad text method. I don't think we're missing anything else here. So now we need to make a method for us to load textures from the actual PNG image files that we're going to be putting in our program. So first, let's do that. Let's go to our src folder here on the left, right-click it, and make a new package. And we're going to call this res for resources. And we're going to put in these two textures I made for us. You can make your own if you want. Just make sure they're 64 by 64 and they are .png format. But these will be available in the description of the video right now if you want to pause and go download those. And just save them wherever. And then once you have them, we're going to get both of them and put them right inside of our res folder that we just made. So if you do that, you should see them appear in the list of files on the left side of the screen now. So once those are there, let's bring the Eclipse back up to full, and let's make our load texture method. So instead of a void, we're going to return a texture for this. Public static texture load texture. And we need to give it a path for where the file is located and a file type for what kind of picture it is. And we'll make a dummy texture real quick and set it to null, and we'll return that. And we're going to make a input stream, which is a way for you to take external files from outside of the program and bring them in as resources. So input stream in equals resource loader. And this is the stuff that I said might be kind of confusing as we're going through it, but with some more practice and in later episodes, it should be more clear. So resource loader dot get resource as stream, and we're going to put in the path here. Right. And then after that, we're going to set our text equal to texture loader dot get texture, and that takes a format, as you can see here, and also an input stream. So our format is going to be the file type that we referenced up here in the arguments, and the input stream is going to be in, or whatever you named your input stream, and we'll need to surround it with a try catch. So surround with try catch, and we can delete this commented thing right here. And that should work. So I don't think I'm missing anything here. So let's go ahead and go to the boot class and get rid of these draw quads because we don't need those anymore. And above the while loop, let's make a quick test here. Texture T equals load texture, and the path will be res/dirt64.png, and the file type will be PNG. And we probably need to import texture into the boot class. Maybe you already did, but I need to import that. Okay, and inside of our while loop, let's draw quad text. So we named it, I think so. Give it T. We'll start at 0, 0, and make it 64 by 64. And let's try it. Hopefully it works. Wow. I mean, of course it worked. This is a lot of different stuff we had to do, but it looks like we covered it all. So that's our texture in the game. So we can also, let's make texture T2 up here equals load texture res/grass64.png of type PNG, and we'll draw that one right next to it. So draw quad text T2 at 64, 0, and it's 64 by 64. What did I do wrong here? Oh, texture T2. Oh my goodness. You guys. What did I do? That's crazy. Alright, let's see. Let's see what we messed up here. Alright, you know what I think it is? It's the fact that, remember I said load identity will stop that kind of weird screen popping and texture tearing and stuff like that. This should go at the very end, I believe. So let's copy that and delete it from that line and put it after we end the quad. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, okay, there we go. Easy fix, easy stuff. So now we got textures in the game. You know what? Since we're still here, before I end this is gonna bug me because I don't know about you guys, but I suggest you follow what I'm about to do here, but you don't necessarily have to. But for me, all of my textures are going to be .png format. So it seems kind of like a waste that we need to type this every single time that we want to load a texture. I don't know about you guys, but I hate extra typing. So I'm going to go in the artist class, and below our load texture, we're going to make a little add-on method here. And it's going to return a texture, and I'm going to name it quick load. And it just needs a string for the name. And we'll make texture text equals null and return text over here. And text is going to equal our load texture, which we already used. And the path is going to be res plus the name plus .png and of type PNG. So let's see if that works. Let's go to our boot class and go to this stuff. And let's say texture T equals quick load dirt 64. And texture T2 equals quick load grass 64. Alright, sweet. So now every time we want a new texture, we can just use that quick load and put in the name of the file, which is a lot quicker. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial. Next episode, we'll incorporate the textures into our tile class that we made last time, and hopefully fill the rest of the screen with a map, and our game will be well on its way. How's it going, guys? It's Brian from Cross Coast Gaming, and this is another Java game programming tutorial. Last time, we drew a couple of the textures onto the screen here. Dirt, grass, good stuff. This episode we're going to make our own variable type, kind of, if you can call it that. It's an enumerator. So we're going to go to the data package and make a new enum and name it tile type. And we're going to create the constructor here. So just put tile type, and it's going to take a string for the texture name and a boolean on whether or not we can build on that tile. So boolean buildable. and just set this dot texture name equals texture name, and this dot buildable equals buildable. And now at the top we're going to create these actual variables here. So string texture name and boolean buildable. And don't worry about the red lines because we're doing it kind of out of order here. And then up here is where we create the actual types of tiles, so the actual tile types. And you do that just by typing grass, and then it's like you're going to create the grass using the constructor we just made. So for grass, it's going to be grass 64 is what our texture is called, I think. Yep. And buildable will say yes, you can build on grass. That's true. Put a comma there and do dirt, which is dirt 64. And that is false for now. So these are just two simple tile types, and kind of setting up a framework that's really easily expandable. You know, you guys can make your own tiles, and you can add different keys or attributes to each tile. Like right now we just have buildable and the texture. So the one thing you're always going to want is the texture. We can add things like can enemies go over it, or can projectiles go through it, you know, etc., etc. But for now, buildable, easy stuff. So now we're going to go to the tile class, and instead of the texture over here, we're going to make it take a tile type of type, and in the constructor we're going to say this dot, oops, up here, we're going to create private tile type type, and the constructor say this dot type equals type, this dot texture, here's the magic, equals type dot texture name. Oh, did that wrong. Equals quick load. We're gonna use our quick load method that we made last time. Quick load this. We're gonna say type dot texture name. There you go. And I don't have quick load in mind. You might have it in your tile class, but if you don't, like me, then you're going to need to import the static helpers dot artist dot star. That'll give us all the methods in there. All right, so that should work. Oops, error somewhere. Type.texture name can never resolve to a field. What does it even mean? Let's see. Tile type. Did I save it? Is that the issue? Yeah, I didn't save it. Okay. That was silly. So now let's create some getters and setters. So the way you do that is you just go below the constructor, and if you're in Eclipse, there's an easy like shortcut. Just click source, generate getters and setters, select all. Okay. And that allows other classes to have access to these private variables we made. So now let's try it out. Let's go to the boot class. Let's get rid of these two textures we're drawing right now, and get rid of the textures up here. And let's make an actual tile. So tile equals new tile, and we'll spawn at 0, 0. It's 64 by 64. And the way you give it the type, you say tile type dot grass. And now we can draw rect text. I think that's what it is. And we're going to say tile dot get x, tile dot get y, tile dot get width, tile dot get height, and I think we have the texture before the get x, so tile dot get texture. All right, so make sure you got that down like I did. And it looks like this takes texture, float, 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 float. So maybe I spelled, let's see, what do we have here in the artist? What's it actually called? Draw quad text. My bad. Draw quad text. There we go. So let's try it. Boom, works. So now, if we want to create another one for fun, tile2 equals new tile at 0, 64. It's 64 by 64, and we'll say tile type dot dirt. And then we can just do the same thing here. We can actually just copy this line and paste it down here. and just put a 2 after all these tiles. So tile 2, tile 2, tile 2, tile 2, and tile 2. Alright, sweet. So now that we're passing in a tile type, it's going to make it a lot easier moving forward. It's a nice framework, a nice little foundation for our tile class. And next video, we're going to give the tile method, or the tile class, an actual draw method. So instead of writing this out every single time, which is already pretty tiring after just doing it twice, we're just going to say tile.draw, and it should handle that. How's it going, guys? It's Brian from Cross Coast Gaming, and this is another Java game programming tutorial. So last time, we created the tile type enumerator, and we made it so tile can take that enumerator in its constructor, and we created some sample tiles here, so we can just pass in, grass or dirt and the coordinates, and it should take care of itself. So if you play it, you should hopefully have this. If you don't, then go back and make sure you're caught up with this. So this time we're going to give the tile class its own draw method. So we're just going to create right below the constructor, public void draw, no arguments, and we're going to run this pretty much, draw quad text. I want to make sure I get the name right, got it wrong last time. Draw quad text at our texture x, y, oh my god, x, y, width, and height. I think that's all we need. Yep. So if you go to the boot class now, we can just, instead of these two lines, we can erase these. Just type tile.draw and tile2.draw. Let's run that. Sweet. So that makes it a lot easier. So from now on, we can just create tiles as easy as that and draw them without writing that whole long thing right here.